Hello then guys, I have now lived with the brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold A for an entire week, and I did not expect this phone to get into my head quite as much as it has. I took it around Barcelona, PortAventura, Ferrari Land, and also an aquarium in Barcelona too. So you can guess where I am in Spain. And I also took it obviously on the plane as well, and also took it around a bit of the harbour too. And over this week, instead of treating it like a fragile review device, I actually used it as my main travel phone. I filmed rides, checked apps, browsed websites, watched videos, and tested whether the folding screen generally makes a difference. So, after already 7 days, I can already say that this is not simply a smaller version of the Fold 8 Ultra. It is a different kind of foldable, and it might actually make people get excited about this one. Most surprisingly, it has generally tempted me to move away from my normal iPhone, at least until, say, the iPhone Ultra arrives. I think that this new shape makes an immediate difference. Folded, it is short and wide, almost like a digital passport. It has a 5.5-inch cover screen that opens up onto a 7.6-inch inner display with a 4:3 shape ratio. At only 201 grams, it does not feel like a phone and a tablet glued together. Now, don't get me wrong, it is still thicker than, say, a normal phone out there when it is closed, but only by a little bit. But it can easily slip into your pocket easily, and say walking around Ferrari Land like I did here, with it open, it did not feel awkward, and when I was finished, I could just close it up and put it back into my pocket and carry on. Older foldables often made you think about the hardware, and this one gets that out of the way. And talking about hardware, the hinge here feels firm, the phone opens almost completely flat, and the crease is still there, but while you're watching content or viewing photos, I stopped noticing it very quickly. And you can see here, with obviously turning off my display, turning it back on again, you can't really see the crease when the screen is on. And honestly, you'd have to really catch it in the light to really see it. But generally speaking, it does not actually dominate the experience or ruin the experience whatsoever. And the reason behind this is that Samsung is using a titanium reinforced display structure, and the phone feels more settled and less experimental now. I would still be careful around, say, dust and sand because it's rated at IP48 rather than, say, IP68. But during normal travel use, it feels reassuringly solid here. But moving on from this, the displays are where the Fold 8 really started winning me over. The cover screen is wide enough for messages, social media, quick searches, and shorts. Then when I wanted to watch, say, a full video or properly inspect a photo, I could just simply open it up onto this larger canvas. And that inner display works brilliantly for websites, photos, maps, and reading, while landscape videos fill most of the display, more than you might actually expect. And on the plane, I could place it on the tray table and watch content without needing to carry, say, a separate tablet here. Now, what I will say is that the regular Fold 8 does not actually get the full flex mode experience like you get with the Ultra 8, whereas you can actually move it into different positions and things like that for different viewing angles. And also what I would say is outdoors, the anti-reflective treatment also does really help on the display here, especially like when I was here with bright Spanish sun, you could still see the display easily on this phone. And then when I went to, say, the aquarium, when I was looking at the website here, it felt much more closer to using a smaller tablet than stretching a mobile page across an awkward screen. And rotating the fold like this to read the web page, and let's say if you actually were to read articles, it feels more like a digital magazine or an e-reader. Well, it's absolutely amazing. And really what I would say here, that this might sound quite minor, but until you actually use it in this position to actually start looking at websites and things like this, and you're traveling with this, it does mean a lot less sort of zooming in to pinch in on websites. It's really, really great to actually have all this information displayed all at once on the display. But then, as it is a large canvas display, you can guess it does have multitasking, and this is another area where the Fold 8 feels genuinely useful. I was on a boat and I could have maps open alongside information about the tour here, and One UI 9 lets you run 2 or 3 apps all together, resize them and move between them quickly. And then there's also Samsung's Now Nudge feature that can suggest a related action and open it beside what you're already doing, such as adding something to your calendar or opening a place in Maps. Of course, as One UI is basically running the latest version of Android 17, when I was, say, inside the aquarium, I could use Gemini to point the camera at something and ask a question about a fish to get more information without typing out a long description. And AI is not the main reason to buy this phone, but the wide displays makes this feature much easier and more enjoyable to use. Now, before I went away on my trip, one thing that was definitely on my mind was all about the cameras here. Now, you do get a 50 megapixel main camera sensor and a 50 megapixel ultra wide camera. Plus, you also get a 10 megapixel camera on both displays. Now, for everyday travel photography, I was genuinely happy with it. Colors look lively, the ultra wide camera was useful for fitting in those rides, and the inner display screen was excellent for reviewing photos too. And to be honest, the zoom was more than enough. As I could just zoom in on this really tall Ferrari ride and zoom right back out, you could see how well this was doing. And it's the same thing here. I went to this kind of like Ferrari, like bit of a museum here, and I could pinch around the screen, and obviously it was working super well with the photos that I had taken. Now, something else that I was also quite surprised about was low light video also held together really well here. Better than I thought around PortAventura, especially with colourful lights and moving rides. Inside the aquarium, it also coped really well with those dark sort of tanks, reflection, and also fast moving fish too. So it did a superb job there. And I'd also say that the selfie camera is perfectly usable, although the main cameras are better choice when the quality really matters. Now, what I would say about these cameras, one thing I'm a little bit disappointed is that we didn't even get, say, that 200 megapixel camera like we get on the Ultra, or even the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. And then plus we don't also get a telephoto zoom here. And that's a big factor, especially the price, what we'll get up to in a minute. But obviously you do get 10 times digital zoom and a useful 2 times crop from the main camera. So yeah, like I said, doing rides at a distance and smaller objects, obviously, yeah, this does work quite well, but for the price, I was hoping at least to get, say, a 10 megapixel telephoto, but you didn't get that. And then something I just spoke about, of course, is the price. Now, the starting price for this phone in the UK is £1,699, and in the US, it starts at $1,899 US. And that omission is difficult to ignore here. The cameras are good enough for most people, but the cameras feel like, not say a flagship level, they feel more like a higher than mid-range, but not quite ultra kind of range there. And I think that's one thing that kind of lets it down, but I also understand that this phone is not meant to be a flagship style phone. That's what the Ultra is all about. But don't get me wrong, with that, there are some other bits that really do help it out. You do get performance with this because you get the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. So this is one that's been worked on between Samsung and also Qualcomm as well. You also get 12 gigabytes of RAM, and then also you get the storage options of 256 and 512 gigabytes of versions here on this. And of course, you get those great cameras that are quite good, camera, AI, and multitasking without making the phone feel stressed here when you're using those chips. But then the next thing is battery life. And I would also say this, that battery life here is really good. I'm not going to say it's groundbreaking for a foldable, but it's in the higher remit of a foldable. Obviously it only has a 4,800 milliamp battery, and this is enough for normal mixed use. But a heavy day with, say, navigation, high brightness, lots of photos, and plenty of inner screen time can actually drain down that battery, and you would need to charge up before the end of the day. But the good news, what I would say there, is that you can charge up this phone by USB-C, and you can get up to 63% from dead within 30 minutes. So this is what I mean. If you even got yourself down to say 30% charge, quickly topped it up for about 10-15 minutes, you'll be good to go for the rest of the day. The other thing I was going to say here is that Samsung's also increased the wired charging to 45 watts now on their actual foldables, and wireless charging is also 20 watts, although to get the magnetic Qi 2 alignment, you still need a compatible case to make that work. There are also a few other compromises too. There is no S Pen support, no dedicated telephoto camera like I mentioned, and of course there is also only IP48 on this phone, so I avoid dusty beaches, and also some Android apps still do not use that full widescreen perfectly here. So the standard model does miss out on some of the Ultra's full flex mode capabilities here, where you actually sort of split the screen out and things like this on some apps, and it doesn't work that well on this phone. Now, what I would say is it didn't ruin my week with this phone, but what I would say, it does matter for the price of this phone. Samsung has prioritized portability, comfort, and experience of moving between a genuinely useful cover screen and a small tablet-sized display on the inside. And after 1 week, I would say the Galaxy Z Fold 8 is the first foldable that has made me seriously consider using one every day now. It's fun in a way that normal phones have stopped being. It's gave me a bigger display when I actually needed it, and disappeared into my pocket when I did not actually need it, and made traveling with maps, websites, photos, and entertainment noticeably easier here. And what I will even say is that this phone, I might actually use it now as my permanent phone until, say, the iPhone Ultra comes out in a month or month and a half when it is, to get a little bit more used to using a foldable phone. But what I will say is, will Apple's ecosystem, its cameras, its kind of ways of that you can just get things done so simply, pull me back, or has Samsung already shown me the better shape for my next phone? That's going to be the big question here. So I'll leave it to you guys. What do you think? Do you think I should switch from an iPhone to the Galaxy Z Fold 8 for the time being? And also, what would you use this inner display for? Also, make sure you check the description as well in the below for more information about the Galaxy Z Fold 8 and everything else that was featured in this video too. But on that note, it's time to wrap up this video. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button, and if you want to hear the latest on technology news, reviews and comparisons, make sure you hit the subscribe button followed by the notification bell. Until next time guys, I will see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.